So just to shoot a short video, this is now officially the first week. Technically, it was Friday was the first day of business, but this is I think I had a job. I had two jobs actually on Friday, Thursday and Friday, which went well. So now we are in the first week of actual business. So I had a job on Friday, which at TNT, which is a business here in the Maryland Heights area, and they wanted two deadbolts. They wanted an Adams Wright lockbox replaced with the thumb turn. So I installed all that, and I'll upload some photos so you can see it. On the back doors, there were two exit doors, steel doors, that needed two deadbolts. Okay. Problem was they had these old Yale rim cylinder locks, rim locks on there. So which means on the outside, the actual keyed cylinder is off-centered from where the handle is, which they just had a cylindrical handle. They didn't want to go with any lever sets or anything like that. I couldn't convince them of that. So now, as we all know, in order to do the deadbolts, I got to break out the Pro Lock Pro or Pro Lock, and I'm preparing to install a new deadbolt in it. Okay, so install this deadbolt. Now the hole is to the right of where the other hole is when facing the door. So that leaves another hole there. So I had to improvise, and so what I did was I used, so the supplier couldn't wait, so, and I'll get to that about patience later. But, so the supplier had the Don Joe's remodeling kits, but they only had it with the deadbolt and the cylinder together. So I said, okay, well, rather than wait for them to get that into Chicago, which I should have, but we'll talk about that later, I decided, hey, look, I'll just cut that in half, right? And then I'll just grind the edges or whatever, make sure that there are no rough edges on there, and that should work out, you know, good installation. So I completed that, and once I did that, I put the kit on. Again, you have to edge away the door. On the edge of the door, you have to cut it away in order for the protrusion on the inside of the Don Joe's to fit inside of the door. But it did not fit perfectly, right? Because again, this is through some mold process in which they build this stuff, and every door is different. Some doors are warped, some doors have been smashed in, so you're trying to work with what they have. So I did it, and again, I'll upload the photos, and I want you to tell me what you think. But I got a call after I was done. So one of the doors still had part of the hole showing. Now that's my fault. That's my bust. Okay, because I didn't have another piece of sheet metal or anything in order to cover it up. And the mentality was, it's really not my responsibility, right? I know, it doesn't make sense. Because if you're gonna, as soon as you touch it, you're responsible for it now. So remember, as new locksmiths, starting business, getting into business, be sure that you look at the door, okay, you examine the door, you see what's functional and what's not functional, and then you point that out. And the other thing is to manage expectations. That is very important, to manage expectations. To tell them, once I put this on here, because this wasn't designed necessarily for a door in this condition, okay, there's going to be edges that they're not going to line up properly. It's not going to be completely, it's not going to grab the door the way we envision it, the way it's supposed to work. Okay, so there's going to be some spots that are not as smooth as it should be. And are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, then we can proceed. I'll get it the best that I can to your liking, but it's not always going to be possible. It's not going to be perfect, right? So managing the expectations, and then when you do the job, even if it's something that's not a part of the job, if you're going to charge for it, then charge for it. Tell them in advance, hey, look, well, I ran into this. This is what's going to happen once I do this. This is how it's going to look. And if they're okay with that, then charge them the additional money. If you don't want to charge them, and it's just for a customer service thing, it's not a big job, it's just a matter of throwing another piece of sheet metal, like in this case, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Again, they may see value in that. They may see value in the fact that you did not charge them for that. and you went ahead and you fixed it anyway. So that's what I didn't do. But here was the problem. So Charlene got a call this morning and stated that it was poor workmanship. So when I asked her, I showed her the pictures. I said, see, this is why you take pictures, right? So I'm showing her the pictures and I'm flipping through, and I said, does this look like poor workmanship? Now, for the technician that's out there, we see things, if you've been trained on storefront doors, or you've been trained to do whatever kind of repair, your knowledge, it's based off of your responses are based off of your knowledge, right? So what you've seen, what you see that is common in your field, that's how you apply. When you respond, you're responding according to your training, according to what you know to be customary in the industry. So when another person says, well, I mean, it doesn't look right, but I was instantly upset with her, because here I am showing her the photos, and I'm looking at the photos, and I'm like, well, what I didn't consider was she doesn't know anything about the industry. She doesn't know what's standard in industrial commercial settings. So, but I assumed that she knew that we're talking about an industrial setting, that we're talking about a setting that it's not, where aesthetically it's not always the best, right? And that's no excuse for poor quality work or anything. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, if in your residential settings, if I was applying the same application using a Don Joe, some sort of remodeling kit, all right, I wouldn't apply. I would make sure that, okay, you dig out enough wood, and there's things that you can tweak a lot better in wood than you can in metal, right? So I have a manufacturing metal refinery or something. There's nothing that I could do with that, right? So the metal is what it is. And maybe there's something I'm missing, but as far as the information that I have, the knowledge that I have, there's nothing that I can do with that. So, and I'm going to do more research to make sure that I did apply the best application, the best method to that door. So, it was a pride thing, a big part of it, to hear poor workmanship. I had never heard poor workmanship ever. And in this short time that I've been doing it, over these couple of years, I still have never heard anyone say that it was poor workmanship. It was always, but again, I realized that I manage expectations, and it's different now. I'm working for myself. It's even more important to manage expectations, because again, your reputation is on the line. So I went back out and I fixed the door the way he liked it. And when I got out there, it was, well, this screw kind of sticks out. Okay, well, they weren't pan head screws, right? So these were these flat head screws, and so they stuck out a little bit. So he wanted them to be, flush, and like, okay, sir, so not a problem. So I fixed that. Then he said, well, on the aluminum part of the door, that well, that little hole, well, that's understandable. Okay, so I'll fix that. Right? Cost me $10 at the supplier. Didn't charge him for it. I just cut it in half, and then you'll be able to see the photos, and then I'll go ahead and I'll cover that up. So I did that, and that was really the complaint. And then at one point, initially when I arrived, he's like, well, he shut the door, and the door shut smooth, right? Because over time, even though it may sticks out a little bit, the metal will start to bend. Right, but that's not something that I could have done prior to. It's just a matter of shutting the door, opening the door, shutting and closing, that repeative action. So the door shut, no problem. He's like, oh, well, it didn't shut at first that easily. I said, well, over time, again, the metal starts to form toward the door, starts to bend, and so that's what happened. Oh, okay. So I'm waiting, because again, my ego is in the way, and I'm waiting on him to say something about the poor workmanship. I'm waiting to hear something related to that. So at the time, it was just that, the door, and then now it's shutting, and then the screw. Okay, well, those screws are designed to sit up that way. I said, but no problem. I'll replace that. I'll get you some different screws. So the real issue was there was that part of the hole that was uncovered on the door, and so I covered that. And so he was happy with that. And then, so I apologized to him, as we should, again, because it's however we feel the customer is right. They're the one that's paying our bills, and we are servicing them. So if it were your home or your business, you will want it done right, and you want it done by a professional, right? And that was that comes with training, that comes with experience, and that comes with a state of mind of wanting to do the best job that you can do. So that's where we are. So shortly after that, I was not discouraged. I fixed the job. I feel better that he's happy about it. And then I went on to every other business in the surrounding area, and just to market and promote the business. And that's what we have to do if we're going to pay the bills, and if we're going to get our name out there. So I just wanted to make a short video about that. And so when I said I would talk about patience, is I should have waited for just the Deadbolt Don Joe remodeling kit. Had I just waited on that one, right, and instead of trying to cut it, there wouldn't be any rough edges on top or bottom, or it wouldn't, not necessarily cut, there was no rough edges. I grounded them or sanded them, but I wanted to make sure at least it doesn't look like there's any cut marks at all. So then if I had thrown that on there, it still would have been the same issue in terms of molding to the door, and then over time, but then it would have been more of a professional appearance. So wait to get the right equipment to put on the door, and that's the least that you can do. And then make sure that again, you take your time when you're cutting the edge of the door in order to make those fit. Okay, so that's it. And this is Watson with Watson's Locksmithing Service, and I appreciate you tuning in.